Is there anything too hard for God? What do you think God is not capable of doing in your life? I need you to walk with me. We'll start from last week. Just hold my hand tightly. And when I say last week, I was asked this question last week as I was watching the song rendered by Undozo Mbambo at Eternal Glory Church, Akahlula Lutho uJesu. And the Holy Spirit asked me as I was journaling, what do you think God cannot do? What do you think is difficult about your situation right now that God cannot resolve for you? And I couldn't answer that question. So I journaled whatever I journaled. I tried to be as honest as I could because, really, to be quite honest, I just felt like at that point in time, there is nothing that He can do about the situation. Let's just call it quits. And then this morning, I'm asked the question again: is there anything too hard for God? So as I'm listening to the song, then I'm taken to the book of, I'm listening to the song again, I'm taken to the book of Mark chapter 4 from verse 35, I think, until the end, where Jesus says to the disciples, let us get into the boat and cross onto the other side. They get onto the other side, then a storm arises. He is fast asleep. The disciples are doing whatever they can in their power, with their might, right? So they think, to get the water out of the boat because they are about to sink. But the very same person who said to them, let us cross over onto the other side, is fast asleep. What this said to me, and what I'm trying to share with you, is that sometimes the calamities that we are facing, the challenges and the trials that we're experiencing, whether it be in our relationships, in our businesses, in our workplaces, in our careers, whatever, we are there because the very same God said, let us get into the boat and cross onto the other side. It is God who said, start that business. It is God who said, pivot out of your career. It is God who said, take on that job, take on that promotion, get into that relationship, get into that marriage. And now there is a storm that is arising. Now hear me well and hear me clearly. Context and discernment is very important. So I don't want us to use what I just said as a blanket statement. Context and discernment, spiritual discernment, is important as to what I'm saying. What I'm saying to you is that ezinye iy'nkinga zakho ubhekane nazo, the challenges that you are going through in your business, in the workplace, in your relationship, your marriage, they are happening because God said, let us cross over onto the other side. And the funny thing is, in that scenario, in the scriptures, they then woke him up and said to him, Master, carest thou not that we perish? He woke up and he rebuked the wind. The winds and the waves then became still. He just said, peace, be still. And things were resolved just like that. So I want to encourage you, as much as the word encouraged me, that there is nothing too hard for God. I think sometimes we go through the most difficult and challenging situations so that we can remember who called us to the venture, the business venture, who called us into the project, who called us into the business, the marriage, and all of that. Because we tend to think that because God said, let us get into the boat and cross over, we don't have to say anything to Him until we get onto the other side. And it happens a lot. As an entrepreneur, I can attest to that, where God gave you the vision, God gave you the idea, and somewhere along the line you lose the plot because you think that by virtue of Him telling you to get into the boat and go on to the other side, you don't have to do anything else. You just need to continue until you get onto the other side. Well, my dear, let me tell you something that you did not ask me to tell you. The storms will rise. The storms will come, the waters will come into the boat, but yours is to remember who is in the boat. And you need to wake up the person who said, get into the boat and let us go into the other side. The last thing I want to say as I wrap up this walk and as we begin our work week is that stop doing things in your strength. that's where you get burnt out. That's where you get frustrated. And I know. Trust me, as the kind of person that I am, I'm so solution orientated that I get frustrated when God is not resolving things the way I want Him to. And sometimes God is going to resolve things His way, but at the end of the day, they are going to be resolved. And it is also to build your capacity, build your faith, and to also remind you of your place. Because sometimes we start worshiping the gifts and we forget the giver. And we think that because He gave us the gifts, we just need to do whatever we want to do with them. No, you still need to stick to the mandate, and you need to keep, um, you need to walk with Him continuously. And as much as you may feel like He is sleeping in the boat, He's there. He just needs you to wake Him up and to say to Him, Master, carest thou not that we perish? And He will solve the problem for you. And you'll feel like, Aibo, what a simple, simple solution. And that is what I got today. I was like, how? What a simple, simple solution. All I had to do was to wake Him up. And by waking Him up, I'm remembering that He's the one who said to me, get into the boat. Let us cross over onto the other side. Thank you for walking with me. Have a blessed week. Okay.